Now I am going to present the moderator of this panel, Mr. Clinton Miller. And Mr. Clinton Miller will tell you in 5 minutes something about himself and also his organization, which is the Natural Health Federation. And as good food goes with good mind and body, it's something we all should know about. And with great pleasure, I present to our audience here, Mr. Clinton Miller.
Thank you, Mrs. McKinney. I've been asked, in my role as moderator tonight, prior to my introduction of Dr. Nicholas Nyaride, to take a few minutes to acquaint you with the National Health Federation. Our booth is in the main exhibit hall. We have only one book on display, The Dictocrats. It'll be worth your reading chapter 15 of The Dictocrats. I am Clinton Miller, Vice President and Lobbyist of the National Health Federation. I have been in this role for the past 8 years in our nation's capital, in Washington, D.C. During this 8 years, we have been singularly successful in stopping much bad socialistic health legislation and in passing many good health laws. The National Health Federation was organized 16 years ago to fight for your health freedoms at all levels of government. Now, there are many overlapping freedoms. We have religious freedom. We won this and have continued to keep it for nearly 200 years in this country. One of the miracles and evidence at this rally is that here we have, in the same room, Catholics, Baptists, Methodists, Christian Zionists, Jews, and even a few Mormons, all assembled to work for others' equally important freedoms. Now, we have religious freedom in this country, and as Cleon Skousen told us yesterday, we have still 100 times more political freedom than people in other countries. But the third leg of the three-legged stool is health freedom. Not so well known, even among this sophisticated group, is the furious battle being waged for your health freedoms in Washington, D.C. at the present time. The foremost organization in America in this health freedom battle between the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, the Food and Drug Administration, the United States Public Health Service, the National Institutes of Health on one hand, and we the people on the other, the leading organization in this battle is the National Health Federation. Dr. Benjamin Rush, M.D., one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, tried and failed to get a provision in the Constitution guaranteeing health freedom. Did you know that? He said, and I paraphrase this slightly, quote, "The Constitution should make provision for health freedom as well as for political and religious freedom, or else America will become the Bastille of medical tyranny." Well, we know today that he was a prophet statesman. Unless we stop and reverse the trend, we will first lose our health freedoms and then quickly lose all others. We cannot lose any single one of the three major freedoms: religious freedom, political freedom, or health freedom, without quickly losing the other two. In the primitive tribe and in the advanced society, there is the chief, there is the medicine man, and there is the priest. Now, the best way to give you a very quick scan of the scope of the National Health Federation's activities is to list just two. Number one is in the matter of fluoridation. For 8 years before going to Washington, D.C. as a full-time lobbyist for the National Health Federation, I was the chairman of the Utah Citizens Committee Against Fluoridation. In that period of time, we had 8 referendums and 8 victories. The United States Public Health Service today lists all 50 states in the United States from 1 to 50 in order of the degree of the people in that state drinking fluoridated water. Do you know what state is number 50 on the United States Public Health Service list? It is Utah. And I'm proud to give credit to my friends Reed and Ezra Taft Benson, who played a major helpful role in getting Utah in, as I place the list, number 1 in the least fluoridated city, or in the least fluoridated state in the United States. Now, in this connection, one of the main reasons that I left Utah to go to Washington was to make the United States have a comparable role as the least fluoridated nation among the world of nations. And as I stand on this platform tonight, within 15 years, every municipal water supply in this country will be unfluoridated. The document that will be instrumental in bringing this about has already been introduced. We have it free at our booth. We want you to take it home. It is one of the shortest bills prepared by a man I think many of you know, Representative Rarick, at my request. Let me read to you what the Rarick bill says, and it shall be passed. It is a bill to prohibit expenditure of federal funds by the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare to promote, as distinguished from research, to promote the fluoridation of public water supplies, and it will read thusly: being enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that notwithstanding any other provision of law, no part of any funds appropriated for research or otherwise available for expenditure by the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare shall be expended to promote, subsidize, or propagandize for the fluoridation of public water supplies, nor shall any funds be expended to ridicule, dissuade, or disparage the opponents of the fluoridation of public water supplies. We have at the present time 3 co-sponsors on this bill. I have 2 other bills in Congress at the present time with over 120 co-sponsors. Now, you know there are not that many conservative congressmen. And one of the great techniques we have mastered in the National Health Federation is the technique of convincing all people in Congress that politics and health are the same. There is no difference between a Democrat's liver and a Republican's liver. They all react to poison just exactly the same. Our purpose is to keep both of them alive so that the debate may rage. In mental health legislation, prior to going to Washington, I was asked to draft an amendment to mental health legislation bills, and I did. The amendment I drafted was this: it shall be a felony to give shock treatment, lobotomy, drugs, chemicals, or psychotherapy treatment, or psychiatric treatment of any kind to any individual for the purpose of changing his idea, faith, or belief in God. How many of you think this is a good amendment? How many of you think you can get a state legislature to pass such an amendment? Well, we did. We did. We passed it. And I'd like to give credit again tonight to another great statesman, Cleon Skousen, who helped us immensely. When he was chief of police in Salt Lake City, the amendment is on the books today in Utah. It's still on the books. Maybe some of you saw the article in Look magazine. It was hardly flattering to my role in getting this passed, and it's giving the opposition fits. Why? Because they can't get rid of it. It's welded to the mental health bill so solidly whenever they propose, which they do every legislature, to eliminate the amendment, we only have to have one friend in the Senate or the House raise the question, do you intend to use lobotomy, shock treatment, or drugs to change a person's idea or concept of God? And of course, they say, oh, no, no, we do not intend to use these for that purpose. Then the answer is, well, then you have no objection to keeping it on the bill, do you? Now, just briefly, I would like to tell you about a book which I think is tremendously significant. It's just off the press. It was written by Omar Garrison. I'd like to direct your attention to chapter 15 of this book. It reports on my report in the June 1969 NHF Bulletin, in which I reported that the Post Office Department and the Food and Drug Administration have now discovered a way, a 1970 way, to quote censor, to quote ban, and to quote burn without fire or smoke books not approved by the federal government. Once this law, which was Public Law 9590, passed by the last Congress, introduced by Morris Udall of Arizona, once its legality and constitutionality is established, every book in every conservative American opinion bookstore or other conservative store can be censored, banned, and burned, as they have been able to successfully censor, ban, and burn, and I use that in quotes, without fire, just as they have proceeded to do the 6 health books that I point out in this particular chapter. Now, I believe, frankly, that every conservative should join the National Health Federation. You should know about us, and you should know about our battle to win and keep your health freedoms. The membership is $5, and we have our booth just across the aisle from Let Freedom Ring. Now, with this brief background of the National Health Federation, I would like to give my introduction of Dr. Nicholas Nyardi with a little story. 2 hippies were on the way from Berkeley to Harvard and stumbled by accident into Temple Square in Salt Lake City. One of the missionary guides had his arm in a cast. One hippie went up to him very sympathetically and said, what happened? Did some pig policeman beat you up and break your arm? Oh, no, the missionary laughed and answered, it sounds silly, but I fell in the bathtub and I broke it. The hippies mumbled something and walked away, and when they were out of earshot, one said to the other, what's a bathtub? And the other one answered, man, how should I know? I'm no Mormon.